All right, let's talk about something we all deal with every single day. That constant ping, that buzz in your pocket. Today, we're going to dig into the real cost of all that. We're getting into the science behind our, let's say, complicated relationship with notifications.
Seriously, just for a second, think about it. How many times has your phone buzzed or lit up just today? Are we talking 10 times, 50, maybe more? It's kind of become the soundtrack of our lives, right? This constant stream of alerts, all demanding our attention. But the big question is, what's it actually doing to our brains? Each one feels so small and harmless. It's just a quick glance. What's the big deal? But here's the thing. All those tiny little micro interruptions, they add up. They're like this hidden tax on your brain power, on your focus. And trust me, the cost is way bigger than you'd ever guess. And that brings us to this fundamental conflict we're all stuck in. Researchers actually have a name for it, the notification dilemma. And it's exactly what it sounds like. We're caught in this crazy loop where we can't stand them, but we also feel like we absolutely can't live without them. Okay, so this slide just nails that dilemma perfectly. Check this out. In a study called the Do Not Disturb Challenge, they had people turn off all their notifications for a full 24 hours. And the results? They were just wild, totally split. At work, it was amazing. People felt less stressed, way more productive, and could finally concentrate. But then outside of work, that same silence made them anxious. They got hit with a huge case of FOMO, fear of missing out. They felt disconnected and even started worrying that they were breaking some unwritten social rule by not being available 24/7. And yeah, that's really the core of it, isn't it? This quote from the researchers who did the study just sums it all up. Can't live with them, can't live without them. They're a source of stress, for sure, but we also feel like they're totally essential. So what is actually going on inside our heads that creates this mess? Okay, so to really get a grip on why notifications have such a hold on us, we have to look at the neuroscience. This isn't just about having a bad habit. Oh no, it goes much deeper. We're talking about a biological response that our devices have basically trained into us. So it all boils down to this really cool concept from neuroscience called expected reward. Just think about it for a sec. Every single time you've checked your phone and got something good, a nice text, some cool news, a funny meme, your brain makes a little note of it. It logs that good feeling, and over time, your brain learns to associate your phone with a high chance of getting a little hit of something pleasant. The writer Cal Newport has a great way of explaining this. He says your brain is constantly holding a vote. The moment your phone is in sight, it triggers a whole bunch of neurons to vote to check it, all for that expected reward. And because the phone is always around and that reward is so tempting, this vote is happening constantly, all day long. Trying to fight that relentless pull with just willpower? It's mentally exhausting. And that's exactly why just trying harder almost never works. So that neurological pull we just talked about, well, it leads us straight into our next big problem. And this one is a massive hit to our productivity. It's something called context switching. Now, context switching, it's not the same as multitasking, not even close. Think of it more like mental gymnastics. It's what your brain is forced to do every single time you stop one task to glance at a notification. And each time you make that switch, it leaves behind this cognitive residue. That's the scientific term for it. It's basically the ghost of the last thing you were doing, and it makes getting back into the zone so much harder. So how bad is it? How often are we actually doing this? Well, some research from Microsoft it's staggering. Get this. The average knowledge worker, that's probably you, spends less than 3 minutes on a task before switching screens. Let that sink in. Less than 3 minutes of focused work before your brain gets pulled in another direction. And of course, those interruptions add up fast. That same research found that employees get pinged by meetings, emails, or chats about 275 times a day. 275. That is hundreds of tiny little context switches, and every single one leaves behind that mental fog we were talking about. So what's the grand total? What's the real cost here? It's estimated that we lose up to 90 minutes of productive time every single day just from recovering from these little interruptions. That's more than an hour of your workday just gone. Poof, vanished into thin air while you're trying to get your focus back. Okay, so the problem is pretty clear, right? It's a big one. But the good news is, we're not helpless. There are some really powerful ways to fight back. And we can start with what you can do as an individual to start reclaiming your attention. Let's take a look at a real-world example. This college student, we'll call him Brady, tried something pretty radical. He decided to make his smartphone, well, less mobile. His method was super simple, but also incredibly powerful. Step 1, separate. He'd leave his phone at home or in his bag during classes. Step 2, tether. When he got home, he'd plug it into a wall outlet and just leave it there for the night. And step 3, the most important one, replace. He actively filled all that new free time with high-quality stuff. And the results? They were huge. Not only did his productivity go through the roof, but something really unexpected happened. His social life got better. Without his phone to lean on in those kind of awkward or boring moments, he just started talking to people more. He built deeper friendships, made new ones. He basically swapped out what he called low-quality novel stimuli, endless scrolling, for actual real-life experiences. And you really can't say it better than Brady did himself. This quote just says it all. The key here is that he didn't throw his phone away. He just changed his relationship with it. He put himself back in the driver's seat and, in his words, started living the human experience again. I mean, how powerful is that? But look, personal strategies are awesome, but they're only one piece of the puzzle, right? This problem is so widespread, so universal, that we're starting to see bigger, more systemic solutions pop up. One of the biggest ideas gaining traction is something called the right to disconnect. And it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a legal concept that says employees have the right to completely ignore work emails, Slacks, whatever, after their workday is done, without getting in trouble for it. It's about protecting personal time. And this isn't just some pie-in-the-sky idea. No, this is a real, growing global movement. France actually got the ball rolling way back in 2017. And then, of course, the pandemic just poured gasoline on the fire, blurring those work lifelines even more. Now you've got countries all over Europe and North America finally recognizing that being always on is a legitimate workplace health problem. So what are these laws trying to do? Well, the goals are pretty fundamental. We're talking about protecting a person's basic right to rest. It's about reducing that digital stress and burnout we all feel. It's about building a culture where work happens during work hours and your personal time is actually, yours. It's about being able to be offline without feeling guilty about it. So when you put it all together, here's the key takeaway. Reclaiming our attention isn't a simple fix. It's really a battle on two fronts. It takes personal discipline, for sure, like what Brady did, but it also needs these bigger systemic changes that help us redraw the boundaries between our work lives and our real lives. And all of this leaves us with one last question to think about. The next time your phone buzzes in your pocket, the next time you hear that familiar ping, just stop and ask yourself, in this exact moment, who's really in control here? Is it you or is it the device?